Welcome back, everyone. This is Arif Raghunathan from Team 9477 for the first robotics competition. In today's tutorial on CAD and design with OnShape, we'll be looking at advanced sketches. So we'll be looking at how sketches apply to the real world, how to create advanced versions of rectangles and circles, and so on. So without further ado, let's begin. So this is our table of contents. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at objectives. So that's our plans for today. We'll be looking at lesson content. We'll be doing a guided practice, and then you guys will be doing the performance task, and I will be explaining that performance task at the end. Objectives. In today's lesson, you will learn how to utilize advanced sketches such as advanced rectangles and arcs, identify and use essential sketch relations to enhance sketch design, develop a foundation to hone in on your learning for sketches, and define master sketches and their applicability in the real world. So let's get started. Advanced rectangles. So below you can see the three different types of rectangles you can create in OnShape. You have corner, center point, and align. In previous lessons, we learned how to create the simple rectangle, which is the corner rectangle. However, OnShape has multiple ways to create a rectangle based on different purposes, such as relating it to center of an object or a diagonal. Let's look into these rectangles. Let's exit out here. Make sure you guys have an OnShape document open so we can take a look. So this is my OnShape workspace. Let's show one of these. So let's create a sketch. So we click sketch here, like we taught in the last lesson, and we click the top plane, and then we zoom. Let's zoom in here. So there we go. So this is our plane. So let's look at the three different other rectangles. If you go up here, right next to the line tool, you can see the rectangle tool. And you can see this is just one rectangle, the corner rectangle. So if you click on this, you can create the rectangle that you know here. You've got a rectangle here, pull one corner, and then pull the other corner, and then you have a rectangle. Awesome. But we don't want to do that today. We want to show the different types. So you can see there's different types of rectangles that you can create. The first one we have is center point rectangle. The center point is a rectangle based around the central position of the rectangle. So let's say we want to create one that's centered at the origin for a design. We can click here, and then we can pull this out to however we want, and then we can dimension. We can use the dimension tool if we need to. And so this is how you create a center rectangle. Undo that. Now let's take a look at a line rectangle. So a line rectangle is if you want to create it not on a horizontal surface. You want to create a rectangle that is not on a horizontal surface. Let's say I want this line here. Let's say I have this line right here, and I want to create a rectangle. Oop. Let me try that again. Sorry about that. Say I have a rectangle here, right? I want to create it on this line. Well, you can use that using the align rectangle too. So I'm going to click up here. This one doesn't have any shortcut. As you can see, there are different shortcuts for each rectangle. This one doesn't have one. So if you click here, you can draw one from here, a line from here to here. And so it'll create the rectangle at an angle, and then you just pull up like that. And then you can create whatever size you want. So now the rectangle is an angle, whatever angle you want. And this is very useful, except if you're putting it like on a diagonal, or you don't want a piece of your design to be straight. You want it to be, kind of tilted a little bit. This align rectangle is great for that purpose. So let's undo this. Let's go back. Those are the three different types of rectangles, and you'll be seeing a lot of them throughout this process here. All right. So now let's take a look at advanced circles. So advanced circles are very similar to rectangles. So there are three different types. You have center point, 3-point, and ellipse. So in previous lessons, we learned how to create a simple circle using OnShape's default setting. Just as with rectangles, OnShape has multiple ways to create circle based on different purposes, such as relating to the center of an object or creating uneven rounds like an ellipse. So let's take a look at these circles. Let's extract this here. So now we still have our plane. Awesome. So then we can click up here. And so you know the classic center point circle. This is the one we created in the previous lesson. This comes from the center, and it has a given radius. You can adjust the radius using the dimension tool. Let's undo that. All right, now let's take a look at the 3-point circle. The 3-point circle is a little harder to create. So you start here, you click whatever point you want. Let's say I want it here. And then you can adjust the size depending on how you pull 3. So you can click, say I want it here. If I click here and then I create a circle. I've never really found any use in robotics for this, but I'm sure there's definitely uses out in the manufacturing industry, mechanical design industry, whatever, wherever you use CAD. I'm sure there's a very valid use for the 3-point. Then lastly, we have the ellipse. So the ellipse is, is an uneven circle. So what we can do is you can click here, the center, and you can see it all automatically creates an ellipse with, given major axis radius. So the major axis is the longer side. You click here, and then you can alter the minor axis as well. So let's say I want it to be like a circle or close to a circle. Let's say I want to create a circle using the ellipse tool. How close can I get? Let's see. Yeah, oh my god, pretty close. But still, you can see you create an ellipse here. And so those are the three major types of advanced circles. Let's get back to the presentation. Alright. Let's move on. Lastly, we have arc. So an arc is a curvature representing a portion of a circle's perimeter, as you can see in this image clearly. In CAD, arcs can be used to mimic a fillet or create a round corner. Now let's create sketches with arcs. Let's look at the different types of arcs. As you can see, there are many different types of arcs here. There's 3-point arc, tangent arc, center point arc, and elliptical arc, and also conic. So I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just going to go over the few major ones that you might see a lot. Let's click out of here. There you go. So the basic one is a tangent arc. So for a tangent arc, the best way to demonstrate this, let's have a line here. A line, and then I have another line. That's on the same vertical. All right. There you go. Whoa. Let's try that again. Made a mistake there. Let's say I want that. Okay. Then we're going to use tangent arc to create an arc between the two. So we're going to start here, and we're going to draw an arc to this point here, and like that. Very simple. You can create an arc any which way. You can create it however long you want, however wide you want. It doesn't really matter. And so this is basically the basic way to create a tangent arc. Now let's look at a different arc. Let's create a different arc. Let's look at the center point arc. So center point arc is like every center point, other center point shape. You just click a center point, and then you draw, how long you want your arc to be. Let's say I want the entire. Well, I can't make the entire thing because then it would be a circle and not an arc. So let's say I want it just like there. Beautiful. All right, let's look at one last one. And let's look at the 3-point arc. So 3-point arc is the default one, the default arc. So we click here. You can see it creates a center. So let's say I want that. And then I want it to be, this is definitely a little harder to create. So you want something like that. Beautiful. And you have another arc. And so these shapes can be very useful when, making fillets, or fillets, excuse me, not fillets, fillets. And it can be used in a variety of different purposes to mimic curves. Like on a sketch, there's always tools and extrusions, which we'll talk about in the next lesson, where you can create curves using the fillet tool. But in this one, in sketches, there's no fillet tool, so you can use arcs to create that. Obviously, there's many different types. You can see the spline and point and all these different things, text, all these different things you can make sketches for. We'll definitely talk about those in later lessons as they become more applicable. Let's get back to presentation here. Okay. So here we have sketch constraints. So sketch constraints are very, very important for OnShape and very important for CAD design in general. The sketch constraints are an important part of what makes sketch successful. When a sketch is unconstrained, it is free to move around and you can mess up any part. When the lines of sketch turn black or blue, or black, excuse me, yep, black, it is constrained. If it's blue, it is not constrained. So this is an example of a fully constrained sketch here. You can see a lot of different dimensions and stuff like that. So we already learned about one of these types of constraints, which is the dimension tool, but OnShape has a few built-in ones. And so we're going to talk about the major ones here. All right, let's go back to our sketch here, and let's create a line. We're going to use a line a lot here. So let's create a line. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's at an angle. Okay, so let's say we want to create another line here, and let's create the shape, right? And so next out this here. Okay, there you go. So let's say we want it to be vertical. So vertical is a type of sketch constraint that makes two sketches vertical. So we click the point here, we click the point here, and so now these two are on the same vertical here. So same vertical line. they intersect at this point. So, we looked at vertical. So now let's take a look at parallel. So parallel, let's say we want these two lines to be parallel. You click the two lines, and boom, they're parallel, like that, just like that. Very, very efficient, very innovative. These tools, these constraints, these relations, you can call them anything you want, they are very, very useful. Unless we want two lines to be perpendicular. So we click two lines here, and see, and this is exactly what will happen if you make a mistake. So you see the lines are red now. So what does red mean? So red means that the constraints are you cannot make the constraints. There are two constraints that contradict each other. So there's parallel and perpendicular. So for me to make these perpendicular to each other, I have to remove the parallel constraint. So let's go back. Let's click on this parallel constraint and let's delete the entity. So now these two are unrelated. Now let's try perpendicular again. And boom, now these two are perpendicular. They don't need a cross, but they are perpendicular to each other. So now I want to delete the perpendicular. Let's look at a few more. Again, this is not a comprehensive list of sketch relations. What we're basically looking at is we're trying to help you guys learn how to experiment and try different things. So now we have let's look at tangent. So tangent, we need a circle. Let's click. Let's create a circle first. Actually, ellipse. Let's go center point. Let's say we want center point circle, and we want this line to be tangent to the circle. This circle and this line to be tangent. So now let's click on the tangent, and then we'll click on this, and boom, they're tangent just like that. And so these are just a few of many different types of relations you can create in OnShape, and these relations are really important for creating sketches. In Lambert Robotics, our CAD design team uses it all the time to create the wackiest sketches possible, and it makes our process really easy. We don't have to keep dimensioning. Dimensioning is a great tool, but we don't have to keep dimensioning over and over again. We can just simply put two objects, we can relate them together, and then they'll be related forever. A few of the more common ones are horizontal, vertical, equal, tangent, and parallel and perpendicular. So those are really common ones. So now let's look at real-world application of sketches. So in the real world, sketches can be vital components of designs. For example, let's say you're designing a plate to support the bottom of a robot. How could sketches help with that? Well, let's look here. So this is an example of one of them, and this looks like a mess if you haven't seen a lot of OnShape designs. But this is the plate, the bottom of our plate, a plate for or one of our robots, and you can see how much relations and dimensions. You can see a few relations here. This is tangent relation. You can see all these different things going on here. And so what are these called? These are called master sketches. So master sketches are full, efficiently dimensioned sketches that detail the function of the system. So this function is basically, we're trying to create, let's break this down actually. So we have a square, and then we have a bunch of these circles. So what do these circles mimic? Well, these circles are mimicking the a swerve module, which is a type of advanced module in robotics. And so we're trying to design a plate that'll fit the width of a swerve module. And so this is going to be very important for when we're creating the plate for a robot. In robotics, we want to map out the full systems as subsection of a robot. You want to use master sketches. So when we want to do this, we use master sketches. So these are really, really important features of robots, and really important features of designs, even. Forget robots. Guided practice. So let's practice. Let's try to create this shape here. So first we have to observe what are we looking at here? So we're looking at this kind of squarish shape as 2.5 by 2.5, a circle in the middle, and then a line right down the center. And it looks like there's an arc here, arc right here. There is another arc right here. We have a square. We have a triangle-ish shape here. And so before you get intimidated, it seems that there's a lot of dimensioning, a lot of relations going on. So let's break this down. Let's start off very simple. So we first have our square, then we have a tangent relation inside of that square with a circle. We have a tangent relation of the square inside that circle. Then we have a line down the center. Then we have a center point arc, or this could be a tangent arc, it could be any arc really. And we have, we create an arc here. We have a few lines that kind of connect right here. That kind of what are called coincident. That's another really common sketch relation you might use. And so let's get started. Let's try to build this shape here. So let's start. So what do we first get? We first have a square. So square here. So we're good. Let's try a little different because we want it to be centered. We want it to be centered in the center of the shape. So we have, let's go center point rectangle, and we have a rectangle here. Of course, remember that we can always dimension. Click dimension tool here, and then we go to 2.5, right? 2.5. Then this side. I think this side 2.5 as well. Beautiful. Now let's create a circle. So circle, we don't need any dimension. We can just use a center point circle, and we can create a tangent relation right here. Beautiful. Look at that. And then we have a line down the center that kind of deviates, but gives a median-ish. Another median here. Beautiful. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay. Let's escape this. Beautiful. Okay. So now we have a few lines that we have to create. So we have one line here. Let's draw a line. Let's draw a line right here. Beautiful. And I don't know if you saw this, but on the dimension, these are at 45-degree-ish angles. So 45-ish. There you go. So let's go to 45 degrees. So make this 45 degrees. Beautiful. And then we also saw length, approximate length here. It says 3.027. So let's click 3.027. 3.027. Something like that, I would assume. And then we're gonna use coincidence. We want to make these guys perfectly connected to each other. So coincident is basically when two or more sketches rely on the same exact point. Oops. Now these two are coincident. We didn't know exactly if they were before. So now let's try something different. So we want let's switch our side here. We can make this very simple. So let's look at this from a side angle. Right. We want these two to be exactly vertical to each or horizontal to each other. So let's do the H tool. We have horizontal, click H. Let's make these horizontal. Oh, excuse me. It should be vertical because that's my mistake. Vertical over, it should be vertical like that. Beautiful. So now these two are on the same plane. And now let's draw another line where these two meet. So beautiful. This creates a nice little shape here. Oh, let's try that again. Let's create a nice little shape here. A lot of OnShape is trial and error, by the way. So please, if you're struggling, just keep trying, keep practicing, and you'll eventually get it. It's not it's definitely complicated, but you can absolutely get it. As we were saying, so now these two are connected. We want them to be equal so that they meet kind of at the same point here. So we'll go the equal relation, and we'll click here. And we'll click these two. So now both of them are perfectly equal. They're perfectly, well, automatically horizontal. And so now we can do the same thing on the other side. So let's quickly do the same thing on the other side. Mistake made. Another mistake made. Excuse me, guys. My bad. So we want it to be kind of like here, I guess. Okay, that's fine. So let's make these two lines coincident. Perfect. Then let's make these two equal as well. So equal. We want it to be basically a mirror image of the other side. Beautiful. And then we also want these to be vertical with each other. So let's go vertical. How about that? Very simple. Very, very easy and simple. Okay. So now let's do the same thing for this other line we have here. Let's start from the top here. This is about the median. So click the line tool. So line tool to be right here. But that's not correct, right? We need to be equal. So let's click this equal tool here. Beautiful. So now these two are equal, and so now we gotta add our curve. So which type of curve do you think we'll be using? I'll give you guys a think for a second. If you answer tangential curve, yep, or tangential arc, that'll be correct because we want it to be kind of like a curve like that, I would say. Here, and then we'll do the same thing on this side. And we're done. So that's a beautiful, great job, guys. If you guys did it with me, good job. If you guys didn't, this video will be available. You guys can take a look at how to do this. You can look at it on all different sides here. It's not exactly perfect, how the image looked, but it is something really close to it. So that's definitely good. All right, let's move on. Okay, so the last thing we're doing today is our performance test. So this is a house project. So the performance task for this video will be creating a house sketch. Here are the requirements for the house. The dimension should be 3.5 by 3.5, and it should be centered around the origin. The door must have a curved top, and the door's base dimension should be 1.5 by 2 inches. The roof of the house consists of a rounded rectangle the size equal that takes up about 1/4 of the house. Okay, so let's get started. So I'll give you guys a few minutes, or you can pause the video and try this out for yourselves. And whenever you're ready, you can come back and unpause the video, and I will show you a solution. Keep in mind. All right, guys, welcome back. So now let's take a look at the solution for this. So let's delete this sketch. So there's a lot of different features that we need to take into account when making this sketch, right? So let's start. I'm gonna go with the center point rectangle off the bat because I feel like because in this image it seems that the rectangle is centered on the origin. So let's start with that. So click here, and then we will make a center point. So the dimensions that were indicated to us. Give me one moment. Seems that this is not perfectly centered. Now, there you go, that's better. So now let's create the dimensions for this tool. So we need one side to be 3.5 and then the other side to be the same. Beautiful. Now we want to create this kind of house chimney thingy going on up here, or this rounded rectangle. So let's start off with the simplest one. Let's do this rectangle-ish thing. So this might take a few minutes. So we'll go up to about there, where the maybe not be exactly 1/4, but it's pretty close to it. And so we go here. Let's do another one over here. Oh, that's not right. So we want the distance. Let's think about this using math, right? If the whole thing is 3.5, and we want the door to take up about half, so that the other thing to take about half of the width, I would say we'll go about 1.75 length. Let's escape this tool, and let's click dimension. We want this to be about 1.75. I think we moved that one. So we want this to be, so 1.75 divided by 2 is approximately there's many different ways you could do this, and you shift it. There you go. Voila. Beautiful, right? And so now let's create the rounded arc. So exit the sketch there by accident. Beautiful. Okay, so now let's click the tangential arc, so that's the same thing we're going to use, and we're just going to go around like that. Very simple, very easy door we just created. All right. Now we're going to need to create the four things at the top. So we want these lines to be kind of equidistant from each other, I would say. So let's start with a line at the end here, and then a line at the beginning. There is an easier way to do this, to create this line-ish here, but we'll learn about that in later lessons. A little bit more about sketches, stuff like that. So you have 3.5 here and 3.5 there, and we want 4 of them. So we want about 1, 2, 3 more lines in the middle there. I think I deleted this one by accident. Let's make these horizontal. Perfect. Couldn't be better. Okay. So now we want these to be kind of equal distance from each other, about divided by 4. So we have to just create a few lines here in the middle with let's create another line right down the center. We want it to be kind of center-ish. And then we want another line to be kind of right here. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Okay, so now we want them to be kind of equal to each other. So we have one in the center. So we can use another tool actually. Okay, we can use another tool here. So let's say we can create a line down here, just a reference line. We can use, very common to use stuff like this. Escape. So now let's create this point here, and we'll do Control M. Well, Control M or Shift M, excuse me. And what we'll do is we'll place this in the middle between the two lines here. We can do the same thing for the other side here. Or on this side we'll do something a little different, I guess. And we'll just use the dimension tool that we learned in the previous lesson. I think 8.7. And these two are about equal to each other. So this is exactly what we want. Now we just got to create a few different arcs that kind of match up. So we can just do tangent arc for each of them. 1 arc, 2 arc, 3 arc, and then the 4th arc. Voila. And if let's escape this. We escape, we get an image that looks very similar to the house that was in this image. May not be the exact same, but it was very similar to it. And so let's get back to the presentation. Alright guys, thank you so much for listening to this presentation, in this video. Please post any questions, comments, or concerns in the comment section below, and our outreach team will try to answer them to the best of their ability. And without further ado guys, thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you in our next video.